Some of you lost a spouse. How do you manage this part of your life? Determines your quality of life, even your sanity. Some of you have lost a business. How do you manage the reputation being lost that you used to own a business? How do you manage people's expectation of you not failing and you failed? This is just life. So life is really determined by how you manage a series of changes. And this is why in this ministry, the Lord spoke to us very clearly this year. He says we are entering a season of drastic change. Everybody say drastic change. You know, your life ain't going to be normal like it was the last few years. Change this year is going to be drastic because this is the season we are in. It's the year of change and new beginnings. You're not just going to have change, you're going to actually have changes that cause you to have to begin something again or begin something you never did before. Some of you will have to change your career. Some of you have to be retooled in your skills. You have to learn new things you never had to learn before. The change is going to be so drastic, you're going to have to almost be re-educated in some cases. And you got to be careful how you respond. Isaiah chapter 43, God says the first thing you should do is forget the former things. One of the greatest hindrances to progress is preoccupation with the past. He who lives in the past will never go to the future. And the future is still moving. So God says, forget the former things. Do not dwell on them. See, I am doing a what? A new thing. This statement is dangerous. Notice the first word is I. This ain't the devil. The devil ain't upsetting your job or your business. I am going to initiate change, he says, and it's going to be new things. Write the word new down. New means I am not going to repeat things I did. And I am not going to do things you already know about. I'm going to do things you ain't never seen before. You're going to have to adjust to new things. And he says, I'm behind it. This past week, the World Economic Forum met in Europe. All the governments met together this week. And the chairman of the World Economic Forum said these words. It has come to our realization that the economies and the economic systems we've been using for the past 102 years are no longer valid. And then he says, we even have to question capitalism. I thought I was dreaming. What they're saying is every system we built ain't working. The degree you got from college has been canceled by change. The formulas they taught you in economics and politics, it's completely useless, he says. That's what he means. Then he said these words, and I smiled. He says, we have to invent a new economy for the world. Tell me God ain't behind something. I told you years ago that God is moving in the midst of human activity to reduce man back to him. Matter of fact, we think that the future of the world is in the north. But I tell you, God is shifting without permission. He's shifting everything south. The economies of the southern hemisphere are about to take over the world. And God is also not moving west. He's finished with that. He's now moving east. And no one can stop it. Can I suggest to you that when God begins to change things, you better go with him? Because if you try to resist change, the change will destroy you. Look at the last part. He says, now it springs up. Spring means you didn't even plan it. It just happened. A spring is a natural phenomenon. Change will happen naturally, right in front of you, he says. And then he says, will you not perceive it? That means, write this down, divine change can happen without you. You can actually miss it. And so my policy is, never get caught where God used to be. You got to keep moving with God, because God is always moving in time. And his movement brings changes. God never changes, but he's always changing everything. So he's the only thing or person that is constant. And that's why we cannot trust anyone or anything. Don't build your life on no human. They could be gone tomorrow morning. Don't build your life on no job. It could be gone before the sun sets. Don't build your life on no salary or no bet. It could be gone or never come. The only solid constant in life is Jehovah. God never calls himself an anchor, because even anchors are useless without a rock. He calls himself the rock. So the only safety you have is the one who never changes. I want you to write this statement down. Change is the law of life. And those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss it. You're going to miss the future. So if you want to make enemies, try to change something. Write this in capital letters, please. People don't want you to grow. They don't want you to leave them and they ain't doing nothing. People don't want you to advance. They want you to stay where they are. When you decide to change, your house could become your enemy. People in your house. When you decide to change something, every sleeping demon wakes up and they're dressed in family clothes. Anybody know what I'm talking about? They don't want you to change. They want you to be just like them, and they are nothing. Change creates enemies. Get over it, okay? Stop trying to be liked. You think people like you? You'll be amazed what they say about you in your absence. You have to